Hello everyone, this is Earth Archives. Throughout human history from ancient times to the present, there are countless examples of poisons used to destroy opponents. Today we will look at 7 of the most famous poisoning incidents. Before the show starts, please subscribe, share, and turn on the little bell. This will help us grow faster. Without further ado, the show begins. Alright, folks, let's dive into the shadowy world of poison, the silent killer that's been offing folks since the dawn of time. What's wild about toxins is that they're all around us, lurking in nature, often masquerading as something as harmless as a stomach bug or a sneeze-inducing allergen. Now, gather round for a tale straight out of the history books. Ever heard of King Mithridates VI? This dude, who ruled the roost in northern Anatolia way back from 120 to 63 BCE, was pretty much the paranoid monarch. So terrified was he of being poisoned that he concocted his own little daily cocktail of toxins, all in tiny doses, believing it would make him immune. This practice got its own fancy name, Mithridatism, named after the guy himself. And yeah, while Wesley from The Princess Bride might have pulled off this stunt, let's just say it's not something your doctor would recommend. Now, onto the juicy bits, the poison highlights reel, if you will. Our lineup includes an ancient Greek drama that could give any Netflix series a run for its money, a case so infamous it's pretty much the O.J. Simpson trial of toxin tales, where the poison seemingly decided to take a day off, and then there's the modern twist, a war criminal's final act streamed live for the world to see. Buckle up, because history's poison plots are about as twisty as a mountain road. 1. Socrates, died 399 BCE. Let's take a trip back to 399 BCE, where the drama in Athens would put any prime-time soap opera to shame. The city's bigwigs dragged none other than Socrates, the OG of philosophy, into court. What's the beef, you ask? Well, they accused him of leading their youngsters astray and giving the cold shoulder to the city-state's plethora of gods. Talk about a tough crowd. Now, despite being pretty long in the tooth at around 70, Socrates didn't back down. When they slapped him with a guilty verdict and a death sentence, did he grovel? No, sir. He doubled down on his beliefs, choosing to meet his end on his own terms. That's right, he downed a cup of what's believed to be hemlock, a poison, effectively doing the deed himself. Kinda gives a whole new meaning to sticking to your guns. Fast forward a couple of centuries, and this iconic moment gets the Hollywood treatment, well, the 18th century equivalent, anyway, from French artist Jacques-Louis David. His 1787 masterpiece, The Death of Socrates, captures the drama, the emotion, and the sheer commitment of that pivotal moment. It's like the most epic mic drop in ancient history, preserved for all time on canvas. 2. Juan Ponce de Leon, died 1521. Back in 1513, there was this Spanish dude named Juan Ponce de Leon who got it into his head that he was going to find some magical fountain of youth in what's now Florida. So, off he goes with his crew, thinking they're going to strike it rich or live forever or something. But guess what? The local indigenous folks, the Calusa, weren't having any of it. They weren't keen on these outsiders trying to take over their turf. So, they launched this surprise attack on Ponce de Leon and his gang. Legend has it that one of the Calusa warriors shot Ponce de Leon with an arrow tipped with poison from a manchineel tree. This tree is no joke. It's got this milky sap that's deadly to humans. Like, just touching its bark can give you massive blisters, and eating its fruit. Yeah, that can straight up kill you. Poor Ponce de Leon survives the arrow hit but gets carted off to Cuba by his buddies, where he ends up kicking the bucket from the poison. So much for finding that fountain of youth, right? 3. Charles Francis Hall, died 1871. Picture this, a gutsy American explorer named Charles Francis Hall, with dreams bigger than the vast Arctic wilderness itself, sets his sights on a prize that eluded many before him, the North Pole. He wasn't just any adventurer. He was the joint commander of the Polaris expedition, an endeavor that promised glory but was headed for a twist of fate. Now, let's dial it back to late October of 1871. Hall, our intrepid explorer, begins to feel under the weather. But this isn't your usual, I ate something dodgy, scenario. Oh no. He's got the works stomach cramps, nausea, you name it. And here's where it gets spicy. Hall turns detective and accuses some of his own crew of spiking his dinner with a side of poison. Yep, you heard that right. Fast forward 2 weeks, and Hall, our Arctic Sherlock, takes his final breath in the seclusion of his cabin, his North Pole dreams buried with him. It's a complete mystery drama unfolding on ice, folks. But wait, there's a twist in the tale. Roll in the 1960s, when researchers decide to play CSI, Arctic Edition. They dig up Hall's body and, lo and behold, find his hair and nails screaming clues elevated arsenic levels from his final fortnight. Looks like our explorer wasn't just paranoid, he was onto something. Yet, here's the kicker. Despite this poisonous revelation, the whodunit of Hall's demise remains an Arctic enigma. We've got the cause but not the culprit. It's a cold case, pun intended, that's as chilling and mysterious as the icy wastes Hall dared to conquer. 4. Guangxu, died 1908. Imagine being whisked off to the throne at the tender age of 4, a time when most kids are figuring out how to not fall off their tricycles. That was the life of Guangxu, who, in 1875, found himself not just playing emperor in a childhood game, but actually becoming the real deal of the Qing dynasty, China's grand finale in its imperial saga. But here's where the plot thickens. Fast forward to 1898, and our young emperor finds his reign yanked right from under his feet. A coup staged by those who likely didn't appreciate his reformative zest sent him straight from the throne room to the time-out corner of his very own palace. It's the kind of house arrest that makes your worst grounded for a month nightmare look like a walk in the park. And there he stayed, with his royal life indefinitely paused, until his mysterious death in 1908 at the ripe age of 37. Now, roll out the rumor mill, because whispers of foul play started swirling the moment Guangxu took his last breath. The official line: he died of natural causes. But, come on, when does a young emperor tucked away from the world suddenly drop dead without a bit of gossip that something sinister's afoot? Cue the entrance of our modern-day sleuths, 100 years later in 2008. These researchers, armed with their science gear, decided to finally put the rumors to rest, or so they thought. What they found would have made any crime novelist rub their hands in glee. Guangxu's remains were chock full of arsenic. Yep, the rumors weren't just palace gossip, they were onto something. But just like in a gripping whodunit that leaves you hanging until the sequel, the identity of the person who slipped the emperor the arsenic remains lost to history. It's a centuries-old crime scene wrapped in imperial intrigue, leaving us all to wonder, who had the means, motive, and opportunity to poison an emperor? 5. Grigory Rasputin, died 1916. Strap in, folks, because the tale of Grigory Rasputin is one wild ride from start to finish. Picture this: an illiterate peasant from the Russian sticks skyrockets to infamy, not because he had a knack for traditional mysticism, but because he basically became the plotline of an action movie where the hero just refuses to kick the bucket. Rasputin, with his wild eyes and even wilder beard, wasn't your garden variety mystic. Oh no, this guy was the life of the party, known for his, let's say, zestful approach to spirituality, and pretty much everything else. But here's the kicker: Tsar Nicholas II and his royal crew couldn't get enough of him. That's right, Rasputin went from peasant to palace confidant, whispering sweet mystical nothings into the ears of the last Tsars of Russia. Now, fast forward to December 1916. Enter Prince Felix Yusupov and his band of not-so-merry men, thinking they can put an end to Rasputin's antics with a little help from our friend, potassium cyanide. So, they whip up the deadliest dinner Rasputin's ever been invited to, spiking his food and drink with enough poison to take down a small army. But here's where things get blockbuster-worthy. Rasputin just keeps on ticking. The poison? Phew, just a mild inconvenience. Yusupov and company are scratching their heads, probably thinking, maybe we should have just gone with a bad Yelp review instead. Not ones to be outdone, they decide if poison won't do it, bullets and a freezing plunge into the Neva River ought to. Yusupov's tell all of the night turned Rasputin into the stuff of legends. Forget cats with their 9 lives. Rasputin was the ultimate survivor, until he wasn't. The man, the myth, the mystic, Rasputin's dramatic exit left the world buzzing with theories. Did he have an antidote? Was it divine protection? Or maybe, just maybe, Rasputin was the original tough cookie. Whatever the case, Rasputin's story is the dinner party anecdote to end all anecdotes. 6. Stepan Bandera, died 1959. Alright, let's dive into the story of Stepan Bandera, the man who makes your average spy novel look like child's play. Picture this: Ukraine in the 1930s, a time when tensions were high, and cloak and dagger wasn't just a figure of speech. Bandera, not just any militant but the head honcho of the Ukrainian nationalist movement, lands himself in the slammer for his role in offing a Polish official. If you thought your rebellious phase was intense, Banderas basically wrote the book on it. Fast forward to 1939, and Germany's marching into Poland like they own the place. Bandera sees his chance and books it out of prison, ready to stir up some trouble. Why? Because he finds himself in a "the enemy of my enemy is my friend" situation with the Nazis. They hated the Soviets and weren't fans of the Jewish community, and Bandera, well, he wasn't handing out welcome flyers to either of them. Now, let's skip to 1959, in the swinging streets of West Germany. Bandera's living his life, probably looking over his shoulder more than your average Joe, when suddenly, it's lights out. Munich police find the guy and think, looks like a classic case of DIY cyanide farewell. But plot twist alert. Enter stage left, KGB agent Bohdan Stashinsky, who could give James Bond a run for his money. A few years down the line, he flips sides, lands in West Germany, and is like, guys, you won't believe the craziest thing I did. Turns out, our man Stashinsky used an air pistol that shoots cyanide gas, yes, you read that right, to give Bandera a face full of the deadly stuff. And because even spies remember to prioritize safety first, he rocked a gas mask while doing it. So there you have it, a tale of intrigue, espionage, and a gadget that Q from Bond movies would nod approvingly at. Bandera's life wasn't just a series of events, it was a full-blown espionage thriller, minus the popcorn. 7. Slobodan Praljak, died 2017. Let's take a moment to talk about a courtroom drama that outdoes any TV legal thriller you've ever seen. Picture this, November 2017, The Hague, the setting of a United Nations tribunal that's about to host a scene straight out of a movie script. Enter Slobodan Praljak, a former Bosnian Croat military commander with a face etched by years of conflict, standing to face his fate. He's there to appeal a 20-year sentence for war crimes, a hefty piece of history hanging over his head. The air's thick with anticipation, but when the judge reaffirms his sentence, Praljak pulls a move that leaves jaws on the courtroom floor. With the flair of a seasoned actor, he declares his innocence, refusing to be branded a war criminal. But then, plot twist, he whips out a vial and downs its contents like it's the last drink he'll ever have. And just like that, he announces to a room of wide-eyed onlookers, "I just swallowed poison." Cue the dramatic pause. The courtroom's aghast, the web's abuzz, and the livestream has just turned this moment into global headline fodder. It wasn't long before Praljak's dramatic exit became the stuff of internet legend, spiraling into meme infamy. Hours later, in a less theatrical setting, Praljak's story comes to a close in a hospital bed, the poison of choice being potassium cyanide, a classic in the annals of dramatic demises. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, the Hague Public Prosecution Service is left scratching their heads, puzzling over how Praljak managed to get his hands on such a deadly concoction while under the watchful eyes of the UN detention unit. So there you have it, a tale of defiance, a moment of shock, and a mystery that adds just the right amount of intrigue. Praljak's final act was a scriptwriter's dream, leaving a legacy wrapped in speculation and online notoriety.